Well, it was a difficult night at Hampden Park with a result I don't think any was expected. There's plenty to get talking about, so let's get stuck in. This is the No Scotland, No Party podcast supported by Ball Bags, official boxers of the Scottish national team. Oh dear, guys, that was certainly not the result we were looking for or hoping for, but I don't think we saw that coming. Dave, what are your thoughts on that one?
I mean, the same thing. It's just very depressed, very disappointing, right? And very kind of flat. And, I think we all feel quite down. So, obviously, even if you've followed Scotland only for a year or two, you get used to seeing the highs and lows, right? So we've all seen plenty of low points over the years. And, the Hungary game in the Euros would be an obvious previous one to think about. And there's been plenty of others. You go back to, losing to Ukraine. I know it was special circumstance, but losing to Ukraine in the World Cup qualifier, then the terrible performance in Dublin, whatever it was, a week later or something. But having said that, and the reason why I say that in context is yesterday felt even worse in a way than most of those because we didn't see it coming, and we had a good result away from home. We were a bit lucky, and I think we said that in the last podcast that we were a bit lucky really to win, and you could have a debate whether it was a penalty and so on last Thursday. But nonetheless, we'd had a good result, and we'd been really good in the first half on Thursday night in Athens. And yet yesterday, the first 20 minutes, I suppose it was sort of fairly even. But once they scored, it only really looked like there was going to be one winner. Yeah. And it was just really flat. And, I don't know if we were going to talk about this as well, but the crowd was flat too. It felt, it just felt kind of flat at Hampden. And, I mean, certainly by the time the second goal went in, everybody around me on the north stand were kind of, we're not giving up. I think that's unfair, but people were just sensing this is all going wrong and we're not doing anything. So I know we'll expand and all that, but that's how I'm feeling. Just, pretty disappointed. And I think it's one of our most disappointing performances for a long time, to be honest.
Yeah, mate, I completely agree. And like you said, obviously following Scotland, you get used to this, but I feel like although you can say you get used to it in the highs and lows, it hurts just as much, doesn't it? It's awful. I think that you're right. It's almost as if the pain on this one, it's almost sort of embarrassment in a way. I feel like more so than others. I feel like probably because I think that it was a harsh reality check out of nowhere. I think that as a national team in the past few years especially, like we've sort of got to a point where I feel like it's fair to say the level, our average level is definitely improved, and it's almost as if we go into fixtures like this now thinking, all right, okay, no, we actually are on this level now. We should be able to compete in these games. And Thursday night showed that. Like, I feel like it lured us into maybe a false sense of security. Obviously, it's hilarious. We'll probably all look back at our predictions and laugh, obviously, of course. But it is true in a way. Like, you go there on Thursday, you get the win, and then you think, right, this is our level now. We are competing at this stage, and then you get run off the park by a team that's majority made up of under 25-year-olds, and they just completely shows a new level. But I think you're right. It was flat and dejected and embarrassing is probably the words that come to mind for it. Craig?
I don't think this is a new thing under Steve Clarke, though.
No.
If you look at I had a look at the results this morning. I mean, we've got some phenomenal results. You get the 2-0 against Denmark at home was great. A couple of good results were draws. You get the 0-0 at England in the Euros, beating Spain, obviously. Beating Croatia, the 0-0 with Portugal, beating Poland was absolutely fantastic. But the flip side of that, and I've been saying quite a lot over the last couple of years, Clark's got these games in him. There's actually, I went through the results. I couldn't believe how many really horrible, stinking results we've had. We've got beating the Faroe Islands 1-0, losing 3-0 to Belgium, 4-0 to Russia. That match against the Irish you talked about, Dave, 3-0. I didn't think we could get lower than that, but we managed it. Getting beaten 3-1 at home against England, 4-1 France, Netherlands, 4-0. The worst game I've ever seen Scotland play was the 1-0 we get beaten at Hampden by the Northern Ireland. I don't think I'll ever see a match as bad as that. That has got to be the low point.
That was terrible, mate. That was terrible.
And then what do? We follow that up with going 2-0 up against Finland, and then it ends up 2-2. We've got the 5-1 Germany, but now we get the 3-0 Greece. There's so many bad results in here. I just don't know. But the flip side is you have got the good results. It's just I don't know why these Steve Clarke's teams do this. I don't think I'm at the stage yet where I want Steve Clarke out.
Yeah.
He's got us to 2 Euros. Having said that, when we got there, we were awful. Absolutely awful. Really, we played about half decent game in each tournament. But Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I really don't.
I think that's the hard reality of after results like this is the question does then need to get asked again. And I feel like especially and like with Scotland supporters is you have such a sort of vocal set of crowds that are so set in their ways where it is Clark out or whatnot, but they make a lot of noise and stuff. And I feel like it's almost hard to argue when you have results like this. And that's it. I feel like I have now been in the cycle where I feel as if I've been proven wrong. And we've went right because I was very much, reactionary if you will, but I was very much after the Euros. Like, look, I think this is probably the perfect time to part ways. Like you said, got to 2 tournaments. We're all grateful for that, and of course, but maybe it's time to look for something new. And then I almost felt stupid in a way. I was like, right, fair enough. After a good few results again, you're talking like the sort of Portugal
Yeah.
game, that stuff, and it gets better. Then I'm just like, okay, no, maybe I was right all along. So I don't know. I'm just it's a roller coaster that
Yeah.
I really don't know where to sit on it. But yeah, it's hard to feel positive after something like that. But I don't know what your thoughts are.
I think, I mean, I think we've got to face the fact also that whoever's the manager, in the end, we don't have enough really strong world-class players
Yeah,
who can react and turn things around. So if things are working, right, they can do fine. But
yeah,
once things start going wrong, we've got a few players who I think can adapt and do something different. So McTominay and McGinn, Robertson, Tierney as well, perhaps.
yeah,
I think Lewis Ferguson. I'm really hopeful for him. I think the jury's still out in a Scotland shirt, but I know he's been brilliant in Italy. But the jury's out about just how good he's going to be. But my point is, we've got too many honestly average players, and
yeah,
when the going's good, they can turn it. They can turn it on and do well. So like in Greece on Thursday, I'd been critical beforehand of Hanley, for example, and Hanley was great. I admit he was great. Okay,
yeah,
but yesterday he wasn't really. He wasn't that. He was all right, but he wasn't great. You look across. Hanley, Ralston, McLean as well, and then up front where really we've got no convincing striker. And then you
yeah,
look at that and you say there's just not enough there. So if things are going wrong, we don't have enough plan Bs. I don't know if
yeah,
we just don't have enough other ideas. And then I'll stop in a minute. But I mean, the other thing is just the lack of creativity. You take Ben Doak out, and where's the creativity? And that was desperate last night when
yeah,
we're chasing. There was nobody knew what to do. McGinn was the best at times, but he dropped back a wee bit. At least he had one or two ideas about trying to knock the ball over the top to Tierney and stuff. But it never looked like it was going to work. So it was desperate stuff, and there was nobody
yeah.
else. It seemed able to create anything yesterday.
Yeah, I think that it's no secret that Scotland's probably Achilles' heel for ages has been the creativity and that sort of stuff. Like
Yeah,
you're absolutely spot on. And I think that when Doak was in the squad, that even showed like just having someone young, fast,
yeah,
energetic, like how much of a difference
yeah,
it made. And but that's also then another frustration that I think because you are spot on and you go right. So well, that shows that you need a bit of young energy. You need like fast paced players who are willing to do that.
yeah,
But then Clark just seems so reluctant to sort of try to bring players like that in. So
yeah,
it's like it's almost if you create your own problem in that sense because he's so stubborn that he very much he picks like the players he likes. He picks the
yeah,
same team very often. So if that's the way that it's going to be, you then can't be like, oh well, we just don't have sort of the creativity in players because it's almost like a problem that we create by the way that we set up.
yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
I think you're right. So we nailed the lineup for the first leg.
Yeah,
We didn't get it right for the second one because we thought McLean would be coming out for Christie and Christie would be playing that
Yeah,
holding defender role. But he didn't. He came on for Ferguson.
yeah,
Looks like that really wasn't the right decision. What I was absolutely baffled at was the amount of times that Ralston actually overlapped Christie. And surely Christie's coming in there to be your attacking player,
yeah,
to give us a few attacking options. And Ralston's going outside him, and Ralston's putting balls into the box. Well, trying to put balls in the box. He
yeah,
didn't really manage it. There were terrible balls he was putting in. And I thought, what are the tactics here? Why is Ralston going round there when Christie's in there for that exact job? And he didn't do a good job last night, Christie. He wasn't good in that position.
no,
I actually thought when Ferguson came on, he was one of our better players. What really frustrates me again with these Clark teams is the amount of times the ball just gets passed along the defenders. There doesn't seem to
yeah,
be any movement in midfield. Nobody's looking for the ball. It's just going from one end to the other. I mean, we're 3-0 down. We're desperate for a goal. and it's just getting passed along the back. And the only person that was coming out of midfield looking for the ball was Ferguson. And I thought he was doing a lot of movement. And yeah, I'd like to see him start the next game. I'd like to see him fit in somewhere. But Christie for me was really disappointing. But he's not been playing that role all season. He hasn't been playing a holding role.
I know. I think you're right. Like Christie was obviously terrible last night, along with so many of the other players. But it's what we were talking about. It's like you almost, you play at such a high level for your club. He's obviously established himself in that role, playing almost sort of in like the sort of CDM role or a bit further back. And you're like, well, do you know what? Like, I go for it, swap him for McLean. And for me on Twitter and stuff like that, and from what I've seen, that was one of the biggest criticisms that people had, that like you're almost playing Christie, one of your most experienced players, and especially this season, out of position to accommodate for McLean. And we spoke about it in the first episode and briefly in the second one as well. Like, look, I do think McLean's been a good servant and stuff like that, like without a doubt. And I do have a soft spot for him. I like him, but you have got to question that, being like, is that the right call? And last night clearly showed that it wasn't, if it wasn't obvious enough.
I agree. I mean, I think we were honest. I don't mean that this is one of these I tell you moments or whatever, but I think honestly, we all said in the podcast on Friday after the Athens game, we all said one change, bring Christie in for McLean, right? And it just makes no sense to keep McLean, who's hardly playing and playing at a lower level, keep him where he is when you've got, Ferguson was midfielder of the year in Italy or something, right? He's playing brilliant. For God's sake, we don't have a lot of class players. Let's play the class players that we have got, are the best players. Let's play them consistently. Let's try and get them playing in their normal positions and get them playing together. So get Ferguson, McTominay and McGinn to develop some understanding as those three, right? And get Christie, who's been brilliant for Bournemouth in that other holding position. Get him playing alongside Gilmour, and Gilmour was good again. Get the two of them playing together in their natural positions, develop an understanding, develop a pattern, give us that central core, right, in the middle. It just makes no sense to keep playing players who honestly are not getting enough game time for their clubs. And we know are not that good anymore anyway.
Yeah, I know, I agree. And I think we did touch upon it earlier, but another thing that does just frustrate me, and it's obviously around Scotland, and we have got, and we probably always will have for such a long time, this mentality of like, we're just not good enough and the players just aren't good enough. But even when you run through the squad and the players that we do have available just now, like, I think that there is a lot of talented, really good players in there. And I think especially when you compare like player for player with a lot of other squads and stuff like that. Like, maybe look, I don't know too much, and I probably don't know enough about other teams' squads to be commenting on it and stuff. But like Hungary, like do Hungary have a better squad than us? Do Switzerland have some amazing players? Like, don't get me wrong, of course. Do Greece have a better squad than it? And it's like, this is where I just look at it now and say, right, maybe we are now falling victim to the sense that we're like, oh, okay, we should be on this level. And that's probably come from, decades of disappointment and just finally hoping that we actually have stepped it up a level. But I just think that when you look at some of the players that we've got, like you said, Ferguson, some of the best midfielders in Italy, you've got McTominay as well, like, and obviously McTominay's always performed, but you've got so much quality now, and it's like, should we just always be like, nah, we're not good enough? Like, I think that the players in that we do have now are I think that we should be doing better. Do you know what I mean? I think we should be on that better level. But I don't know, Craig, what do you think? Because I know I'm clearly just very upset, I would say, or just a bit flat after last night. But
I think you made a great point there. I mean, it's kind of going back to these results again. Faroe Islands 1-0. We're not the kind of team that should be beating them 1-0. We should be putting 3 past them easy. We should not be losing to Northern Ireland at home. They were so far below us in the world rankings at that point. I don't know why these results are happening. Well, I said I don't know why these results are happening. It could be because of Clark. Because last night, his plan B, those substitutions he made again for the second game in a row, absolutely baffled me. And I was looking at the game at the end, I'm trying to figure out what formation we were playing. Right? And I thought, is that a 4-2-4? And I couldn't figure out what it was. They were just guys running about all over the place. Nobody really seemed to know what they were doing. It was mental. It was absolutely mental. We did nothing coming through midfield the whole day. So as if he decided to take the midfield away and just put 4 guys up front. It was crazy.
I know.
But Craig, and I think that's the point, Craig, is the thing I was saying about Plan Bs, because if you look at the two games, right? So the first half in Athens, we were really good, and we held the ball, and we were all really impressed, and we were getting beyond their press and everything, right? But honestly, the Greeks were holding back a bit, and I think I said in the last podcast that I thought their manager at half time the Greek manager had basically said to the Greek team in Athens, "This is not Brazil you're playing. Go and hassle them, go and pressure them." And that's what they did in the second half in Athens, and that's what they did from minute one yesterday, right? Yeah. The Greeks were at us, and you could see we didn't know what to do. Right, we didn't have another good plan. We didn't know if they're pressing us all over the place. What you do is you hit the ball over the top because you've got some pace up front or something, which we don't have, right? But we don't have any sort of plan B really. So I think honestly, I mean, I'm worried for the two World Cup games against the Greeks, because I think the Greeks have worked, and maybe some other, well, certainly some other teams as well, because I think the Greeks worked us out. They worked out press Scotland in the midfield, press especially Gilmer, stop Gilmer, controlling the game. And and then Scotland don't know what to do.
What you say there, Dave, about the Greeks figured us out. I was reading the programme notes last night, or at half time. Where is it? It says, so this is what Clark says: Greece hustled us out of rhythm at the start of the second half and we never regained any real control of the game with the ball. We didn't progress up pitch enough, and that's something we have to look to do better. Do you think he did that better?
No,
I don't think he looked at that Greek. I don't think he figured out how to beat them.
No, it was the same thing last night. And I mean, I've literally, after 2 minutes, I said to Steve, that Scotland looked tentative and the Greeks are playing like they did in Athens again. And it was right from the kickoff again. The Greeks had obviously been told, keep going like you did in the second half. And Scotland just didn't know what to do, which is that's terrible, because it was pretty likely the Greeks were going to do that, having had the success in Athens in the second half. Right. Yeah. So we should have known what we were going to do.
Yeah. I agree, and we sort of had it on the agenda for today to talk about as well. And I think that another thing, just where we're on the negativity train, because we need to we need to just stick with it. There's some hard truths that need to be spoke about, and I think one thing we all agreed was as well that Hampden, the past few times that we've all been, is it feels like there's something missing. I don't know. It feels a bit flat, and I feel like last night was no exception. I mean, obviously, when you're going sort of 1-0 down 20 minutes in, and everyone's a bit like, "Oh, don't get me wrong," but I mean, it wasn't particularly lively or loud before that. I didn't think like. What do you think the issue is with the atmosphere the past few times that we've been? Because I think we all agree that there's been something missing.
I think that there might be an element of it about when they changed it to the week of football. That for me was when the atmosphere started changing. You used to get a game on a Saturday or a game on a Wednesday night, and it would alternate between the two pretty much.
Yeah. On
the Saturday, folk would have a few beers, the place would be absolutely jumping, and it kind of kept on going on the Wednesdays as well. People knew they were going out to have a sing-song. The flags were all getting waved. As we discussed earlier, you don't see any flags at Hampden anymore. You might see 5 in the whole stadium. It used to be thousands. And most of our games now are like Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, the Sunday 5 o'clock kickoff. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it, or I honestly don't know. But if you compare it to the games, like the 2007 campaign when we had the French and the Italians in our group, Hampden was absolutely rocking with the Ukrainians. Hampden was absolutely rocking, and it was for years and years and years. The half time was unbelievable. I remember the half times. The away supporters would be filming it because it was such a spectacle. I certainly don't get that now.
No,
nothing like it.
So I agree. I think that's part of it, Craig. I think the truth though is there's nothing we can do about that, right? Because that's UEFA decision, right? And it's UEFA saying it's the week of football. It's them saying you have to be playing on Fridays and Mondays and all that type of thing. So I think, and maybe it's a subject for another podcast where we could talk about it a wee bit. But the question is, what can we do about it? What are the things that we can do to change that? Because to improve the atmosphere, given that I don't believe we can change most of the times of the games. We might be able to for some of the friendlies. But any of the competitive games, I don't think we can.
Yeah.
Would it be worthwhile having a singing section?
So this is something that I would like to explore, and I feel like you're right. Obviously, things like times and stuff like that. While I think that it plays a factor 100%, I feel like, you know, everyone, if they get the time there, you're still getting the sort of numbers and stuff like that there. So while the times are frustrating, I really just think that it's deeper than that. There's some other issue there, and I think that there's no support from the FA or anything like that to promote sort of fans or any sort of singing sections or atmosphere. Like that's just not something that happens at all, and I think is definitely something that needs to be explored. But I think that an issue, and maybe I'm wrong, you just can say whatever you feel about this as well. But I think that almost the issue with the atmosphere the past few times we've been there is the lack of like a singing section or almost a start of where do the songs and the noise start from, because it almost feels as if, and I've been dotted around Hampden, I've sat and you know just about every stand
Yeah,
there, I've been everywhere, and it almost feels like everywhere you sit people are there, they want to be lively, like
yeah,
it's not a lack of like passion and stuff. I feel like it's almost as if people are thinking, all right, where starts the songs, where's the music coming, where's the noise coming from?
yeah.
And it's almost as if any section that you've been in, I mean, you try and start a chant, people are just almost a bit like, oh no, that doesn't happen like here. So I don't know, I think that a singing section, or at least some sort of, you know, effort to have an area where the noise is created and starts from would be definitely something to explore. But I don't know about you, if you feel the same, or what you think.
Well, I think, I mean, I'm quite happy to try anything like that, to be honest. So that's
Yeah.
the first thing. I think your first point, Craig, actually is maybe the most important, which is I think the SFA need to get more involved and take more of a lead on some of this stuff. And you know, they could easily be talking with the various Tartan Army clubs, attack and all that type of thing to say what can we do to
Yeah.
improve the atmosphere, because I think there's lots of issues, right? So I think one of the issues, what you said, undoubtedly one of the issues is going to be about how the team play. Let's be serious, right? You
Of
get if
course.
we attack, you get, so that's clear, right? I think quite a few people. It doesn't really bother me, but quite a few people have said that the poor public transport after a game means that in terms of the trains back in, they put on like what ScotRail say they've put on extra trains, and it turns out it's like one extra train and
Yeah.
so on, right? And it's still 20-minute gaps between trains and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, even Athens, it's like a few minutes for the next metro, and they have a non-stop train straight back into the centre of Athens.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, so it's things because people get stressed at the second half and they start thinking, well, maybe if I go 10 minutes early, that's worthwhile, and I'll get home in a good time, because they're worried about it, right? And but if you so it's my point isn't all about the trains. It's just to say it's a it's a multi thing that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Right, I think, and for the SFA to be talking with the attack or whoever the right groups are to say what can we do, what are the different things that we can do to improve the atmosphere. I think that'd be really valuable, and it would be nice to see a bit more leadership from the SFA on some of these things.
Without a doubt, mate, I completely agree. Like, Craig, what do you think? Because I think Dave's spot on there as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think it's worthwhile trying a singing section and see if it's going to work, because I know the guys in the North Stand, they tried early on yesterday, but I think yesterday was probably the first Scotland match I've ever been to where I didn't sing a song other than the national anthem. There was just nothing in our section at all. There was no songs at all, and it was really weird. I was kind of keen to get involved in it and get the team going, but there was just nothing being sung at all.
I mean, we did a bit in the first. So I'm in the North Stand in C, so C5 or whatever it is. So that was in the middle of the North Stand, and we were singing for maybe the first 20 minutes, but then it just all went flat and kind of just disintegrated. So some of that's about what was going on the pitch, but in days gone by when things were going wrong on the pitch, we would have sung a lot more. You're absolutely right. We'd have been a lot more encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's probably a bit just indicative of the whole vibe and how everyone's feeling. Obviously after last night, but of course we're, like we said at the start of this, we're not going to hide away from the fact that a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about is going to be negative today. There's not too much to be happy about, and I think that it's important to have conversations like this as well, because it's almost, when you're talking about the atmosphere and stuff like that as well, I think there's a bit of pride that comes into it as well, and some people are maybe a wee bit too embarrassed to admit that the atmosphere's been dead flat, but it has. I mean, could you imagine sort of you know, the Greeks or any sort of tourist per se coming to Hampden with this big reputation, how good we are and how lively we are. I mean, if you done that and you came to any of the past sort of 5 games there, really, you'd probably be like, nah, I don't really get it. And that's what I do think it's annoying, but I think that what Dave said was completely spot on. I think that the fact of the matter is like it shouldn't be up purely to the individuals of the Tartan Army or the individual Scotland fans that are there to have to come up with solutions for these issues. It's the SFA should take more leadership and be like, well, we really need to do something about this. And even if there is stuff like this going on in the background that we're not aware of, you know, it would be good PR for them. And if there's anyone with, you know, with a brain that works in the media and PR side of the SFA, they should be seen to be making an effort with this stuff. Get the fans back on side and go, well, look, do you know what? At least there's a bit of an effort there.
Yeah, I mean, because honestly, I mean, we all know how to do this basically, right? Which is for the SFA to set up a number of different working groups or whatever, which could involve other professionals like journalists, as you've just said, but also involving some fans, basically fan associations. Do a few focus groups of of fans, people who turn up regularly, different people. So people who come with kids, people who come with their pals and all the rest. All the different age groups, do all that kind of thing. It's not very difficult to do.
No,
right? It's really not hard to do. I mean, a normal company's doing this sort of thing all the time, right? And we should be doing that. And the SFA then can come up with some ideas. And then I know lots of the ideas won't be practical. Of course, that's right. But then you see what can we do then to improve the atmosphere. Right, because otherwise, I mean, it's a bit of a joke, but about the only innovation we've seen in the last few years was the currywurst pie that's being sold at Hampden now, and it's like, yeah, exactly.
Dave, I remember they were advertising the currywurst pie the very first day they were doing it.
Yeah.
I got to the ground and it was before the match had started and they'd already sold out of it. I couldn't believe it.
Gents, don't get me started, right? I have tried to, because as well of a bit of a German audience, right? I have tried for the past 4 times I've been at Hampden to make a video of me finally trying it, and I have never got my hands on the thing, and it's now like a running joke almost that I go and I get a video of me going, a currywurst pie please, and they go, oh no, we don't have any of them, no, sold out. And I'm just like,
but you know,
so I'd just say, and this is now too much about currywurst pies, but I'd say that you two are the lucky ones in my opinion. So I did get one in the first game after the Euros against Poland, and actually all of my group bought one, all saying we've got to try it. So there were, I don't know, 5 or 6 of us. We all got one. Everybody said they're terrible. Right, so, I'm not joking, right? And it was a bit of a joke. So last night somebody said, "Oh no, they've still got the currywurst pie. They're light in colour at the top. Did you see? They're like in purple or something."
Yeah. Right. The legend.
Right, exactly. But it's not. This is not to slag off the idea, right? So because actually it's good to be innovative. My point is just let's that's one wee idea. But honestly, the SFA should be talking, as I just said, professionally, with different groups, focus groups, all the rest, to say, what can we do to improve the atmosphere? I think that's the key thing.
I think they do deserve credit for creating the fan zone.
I was going to.
Okay. I didn't know. We tried to get. I tried to take the wee man in yesterday, but we arrived a bit late. We didn't get in, but we got an idea of what it was about, and it looked absolutely jumping. The tent was absolutely jumping. They had loads of stuff for the kids to do, but it was quite typical of the SFA that it had a kind of bowling club kind of thought to it, that it was kind of like, oh, you can't come in, and it was all cordoned off, and it was just the typical kind of SFA attitude towards things. It wasn't very welcoming, especially because we were late, we couldn't get in, but it looked thumping, it looked great, so the next time we were going to go early and get in there. So I think they've got to be commended for doing that, and again, trying something different.
I agree. Great.
Yeah. So where does this leave us? Where does this leave us now then for the World Cup qualifications? Because we've got the Greeks again, and now we know we've got Denmark. It's not looking good, is it?
No.
I watched last night most of the Portugal-Denmark game, which was really good to watch. And I mean, honestly, it was quite interesting to see, having been at our game, because to a point one of you made earlier, I mean, both teams, when they got the ball at the back, they were looking to go forward. They weren't just passing side to side. So even Denmark as the away team, and honestly the less good team, right? But Denmark, when they got the ball, they really pushing forward. They were, lots of passes through from the middle of the first half to outside the Portuguese penalty area, etc. So, I mean, they look good. So I think the one word answer to your question, Craig, about how are we feeling about the World Cup group is worries.
Yeah.
After last night.
Yeah,
you've got to hope that Doak and Hickey will be in there.
Yeah,
that might change things. But I think we do need to. I think we need to address the. I mean, I said at the beginning of the first podcast, I think Shea Adams is going to score 3 goals over this tie. Realistically, that was never going to happen. I mean, he's now scored 1 in 18, and that was against Gibraltar. I think we need to address that as well. Maybe just throw one of the young guys in there.
Yeah. It's not good enough. It really isn't. And yeah, I think that you're right. Something needs to change. You can't say that it's for a lack of experience now, or he's not had the chance to prove himself, Adams. And I think that his performances at the Euros on the big stage as well, just realistically weren't even, we're just nowhere near up to scratch, nowhere near good enough. But again, I think that it's hard to single out individual players and say, this is the main issue in that, because I think that the truth is that it probably runs a little bit deeper than that. And I think that last night was probably just a bit of a unexpected humbling, if you will, a bit of an unexpected reality check for everyone. And hopefully there is, because I don't think that there's a reality at all in which Scotland part ways with Steve Clarke, whether you want it to happen or not. I just really don't. If it was going to happen, it would have been after the Euros, and now you're just like, all right, okay, so where do we go from here? So I think that, like you said, the question, where do we go from here? I think that you're probably going to go into those qualifiers with a lot of division, a lot of sort of fans with separate opinions on what should happen and what the right answer is going forward. But I just hope that we go into that, get a good result or get some good results off the back and are playing well, and hopefully you start to feel that sort of sense of like, right, we can do this, and that belief to come back. Because I mean, right now, especially, obviously it's reactionary, and especially after last night, I think if you were to survey most Scotland fans, the belief just probably wouldn't be there at all.
Great.
Oh well, we'll see what happens.
All right.
Right, we'll take a wee break there, guys, just now, will we? We'll come back to the competition.
Okay. Okay, good.
Problem.
Cheers.
Let's do it. So everybody, that is us wrapped up on episode 3. Probably not the result that any of us wanted, or the sort of vibe going into this that we had hoped for. Obviously, Scotland 0, Greece 3. It's a real shame, but on a much more positive note, we have got another winner of the Ball Bags giveaway. Same as last time, I'm going to throw you over to Craig and he will announce the winner. Thank you all again for the continued support. And hopefully the next time we tune back in, it's going to be a bit more positive. But Craig, take it away with the winner.
The winner of the Ball Bags £20 voucher this week is John Attenborough. He was engaging with us on the socials. And that's the way you're going to win the Ball Bags voucher, gang. Just engage with us and you might win the voucher next time.
Thank you so much to John. John, for anyone that doesn't know as well, great social, so everyone go over and follow him there. Thank you for the continued support. And if you want to be in with the chance to win the voucher yourself, continue the support on all of the socials. So on Twitter or X, we are the No Scot No Party podcast. All you need to do to enter would be retweet on there. On Instagram, drop a comment or repost any of it. Just like, engage with that sort of stuff. And you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and all the other good platforms. But thank you so much, gents. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you all. And hopefully it's a bit more positive next time. What are you thinking?
Can't be any more negative, can it?
I don't think so. Cheers, gents. See you later.
All right. Thank you. Cheers.
See you, gang.
Thanks. Bye.